Life. I'm Amber Buto.
And Hosean Arsari.
And today we're in studio with another dear friend of mine and a dear friend of the studio, Abby. Thank you for coming, Abby, and
so
sitting with us. So, fun story about Abby. Abby is also a local Houstonian.
Yep.
But lives in LA now. And one of the cool ways how the studio got connected with Abby was Abby produced a film that we'll be talking about today. And the screener was done here for her whole crew. And it was so brilliant. We put it up. I know, it was so great. Put it up on the white side. It was amazing. It was so great. Your crew was great. Connor, who we'll get to talk about more, was here too, and he was great. So it was just, I was so impressed by you and Connor and y'all's professionalism and everything that y'all had brought to how you handled things and your diligency and all of that. Started this relationship that now we're working on projects together and stuff like that, which is great. So before all that happened, let's go back to who's Abby and where did Abby start down this journey? Was this something you'd always wanted to do, be in this industry? You know, as we talk about inspiring stories of this industry, what was your journey of arriving here?
Yeah, it's a wild ride. It's okay. All right, buckle up. So when I was 6, I started playing the piano. And that was the first creative thing I ever did. And we had this little tiny plastic keyboard. It had like 8 keys on it, and it was connected to like a little Christmas book.
Oh, nice.
And I taught myself all the songs in the Christmas book.
Oh.
And then we had this really old upright piano. It's a birdcage piano. They're from like the late 1800s. They don't make them anymore. And I started to take the melodies I had learned from the little book and play them on the big piano. And then I started to listen to things on the radio, and I figured out that I could learn any song if I just listened to it. So I asked my parents if I could get piano lessons. And then at the time, my mom was also playing piano, and she said, well, if you can learn some of the songs in this book, we'll get you piano lessons. So I taught myself every song in the book, and I started taking piano lessons. Oh. And I still play piano. It's one of my favorite artistic things that I do. Oh. But 2 years later, when I was in 4th grade, I did my first musical. And my parents also had never heard me sing. I didn't really know if I could sing. And
it's the best way to find it.
That's right. My Catholic school in Galveston, Texas. And I went in there and I sang Walking in a Winter Wonderland. Oh. And I was cast as Annie in Annie.
Oh, right.
That was my debut.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I did musical theater until I went to college, all the time.
Wow.
I did 3 or 4 shows a year on top of everything else. And I just lived for the stage. I think that was my first calling. Yeah. I loved being on stage in the spotlight. I love that moment right before the orchestra comes in and it's really silent and everyone's waiting and we just know, and it's so exciting. So that's where I fell in love with acting for sure.
That's cool.
And then I went to college for neuroscience and I didn't act for 2 years. For my first 2 years, I was straight just doing academics. And then I added my jazz piano minor because I really missed music. And I was still practicing a lot, but I was jealous of the people around me who were doing it. So I was I'm going to add a minor. And then the summer before my senior year, I started kind of commercially auditioning in the Bay Area and I wanted to see what was going on. And then I added a theater minor. And then I was cast as Romeo and Juliet at Berkeley.
Dude, the jock in me is just that's so much stuff. That's awesome. It's so cool.
So then I was okay, this is what I want to do. And it had been itching at me for a long time. And it was really hard to transition back because I think as far as different industries go, that's probably one of the most different things because pre-med is so stringent and there's such a timeline and everything's so clear. Yeah. You don't really have to think about anything. You just have to do your best when you're there versus acting and entertainment is so non-linear. It's chaotic, which for me as a very left-brain person was very different for me because I always loved it. I'm very creative, but the industry side of it is not quite what I like because I'm so type A. Yes. So then the pandemic happened. I graduated when the pandemic started in 2020. But it was actually a blessing in disguise because I got to move home with my sister and my brother and my parents and kind of rekindle those relationships. And also Houston, film was still happening versus I was going to move to LA and it wasn't. So it presented an opportunity in disguise because I was so upset to move home. And it was my senior year of college. I missed my graduation. Everything just seemed like it was destroyed. It really did. Yeah. And then I had this year of like bonding with my sister, and I signed with an agency out here, and then I started auditioning and actually seeing what film was like.
Yeah.
And looking at it now, like I was very lucky to start in a smaller industry and then jump to a bigger pond. It's like I got training when I wasn't even, and I was so upset about it in the moment.
Sure.
But of course, we love to complain.
That's right.
It's
That's
very
right.
fun
We're
to
never happy
complain.
the way that it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in fall of 2021, I moved to LA, and I've been working out there ever since. And I was telling them in the lobby that yesterday I quit my part-time job. So I'm fully just filmmaker actor as of now.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
a
That's
fun
awesome.
season.
So during the pandemic, let's go back to that because that's when I met you as far as like, well, after that, but what you did during that time, because your parents live in the northern part of Houston. And so you came back there, and in that you're like, hey, which by the way, your sister also is an opera singer, y'all, which is amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. She also sings all over, correct? So y'all came up with this idea, mainly you, to do this film, this short film,
Yes.
with her singing and you acting and playing and all like marrying it all together with your free time.
That was
Like,
actually
what
her
else were y'all
singing in
doing
that?
during COVID?
Yeah, my
didn't know
sister
that.
sang in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy because that happened. That story, I think it's the only film I've written that is literally what happened because we were quarantined in that room together, and she was in the middle of her college applications, and she was applying to schools for business. And I just see myself and my sister were so similar. I was like, well, like, what do you really want to apply for? Because I never sat and like asked myself that question. I feel like I was just following this narrative of what I thought I was supposed to do and like what I was told to do. And I was good at those things. So why would I not want to do that? So being able to spend like an unadulterated 2 weeks with my sister and just explore the options. And then we started picking out like songs that she wanted to sing and applications or places she might want to go and things she might want to do. And then she switched all of her applications to vocal performance in opera.
Wow.
And then she got into her top choice from quarantine
Come on.
at USC.
That's so good.
And she is currently, because I'm flying to Venice on Thursday, because she's performing in Italy as Susanna in Marriage of Figaro.
That's so
Man,
great.
that's special.
Congratulations,
That's
sister.
cool.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay, Maddie.
Yay, Maddie. Yes. Yeah, super talented. You know, it's so cool how you were gifted the brilliancy, you and your sister, and the ability to create too. And the creativity, you know, is the lane that both of y'all went into, but have the ability to put the excellence to it and the structure to that creativity, which is what I saw in you when we met. You know, that ability to be creative, but yet also be very thorough and diligent in the aspect of keeping some bounds and structures on it that help it thrive, you know. Okay, so y'all made the film.
We made the film. Yeah.
You wrote it. Y'all made it.
Yeah, I wrote it, produced it, acted in it. My sister sang in it. And then Connor also produced it with me. And that's when Connor and I first started working together.
Yep.
Shout out to Connor.
Yes, yes. Hi, Connor.
Yeah, Connor, so great.
We miss you, Connor. Connor will be here.
Connor will be here.
Yes.
Very soon.
Nice.
But something special now looking back at it on that project that I didn't realize at the time because, again, I had never made something like that. So I was just approaching it from kind of a very novel perspective.
Yeah.
But at the time, when I first moved to LA, first 6 months, I was getting a ton of auditions. I liked my agents. Things were great. But I wasn't feeling autonomous in my work, which was very different from what I had been doing the previous years. It was like, if I study for a test, I will get a good grade. If I talk to a professor, I will get the position. Like, that was how it worked. So not seeing it like a product-oriented like space was very scary for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I wonder if I could just write my own project and like write the dialogue that I want to be given rather than waiting for someone else to do it. Also, I wanted to know what went all into filmmaking because I felt so small as an actor. It's like, I don't understand the names of people's activities on set. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how something gets produced. I just didn't understand the industry.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to go to film school, nor did I really want to. So I was like, I'm going to send myself to film school
Yeah.
and I'm going to make my own project. And not only going to make it, but I want to understand and be open to being educated by every person during this experience. So we kind of just like, and then I met Connor and I told him this whole thing. He's like, okay. And, yeah, he's my mediator. But we started like this year-long journey of me saying, I not only want to make this film, but I want to partner with a charity. I want to donate to a charity. I want to have a cause for this film. And I want to bring together a community around it. It's not just the project. It's like, as I learn things, I want to then teach them to other people. It's like not this exclusive thing, because I'd heard so many things about the film industry and how it can be like very supercilious and people are so stuck in their lanes, but I'd never experienced it. And so I think I've been very lucky in that how I started out has been what I've attracted. So I haven't ever really had bad experiences with people being super protective or terrible, because those aren't the people I'm working with.
Right.
So that project ended up opening so many doors, but that was never the intention, which was really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think there's just something to be said at going and creating something that you're not sure of or knowing and not being afraid of it, you know, and just stepping out and then saying, I clearly know you're going to make mistakes and not make mistakes and learn across ways. Like, you know, it's a learning experience. But I think when you choose to make the rubber meet the road, so to speak, you start going somewhere. You know, it's destined to open some kind of door because you're moving in it. You know, I don't know that we ever fully know, like, oh yeah, I think this is going to open this door, this door, this door, this door, right? I think you just do it hoping something good comes from it. You know, it's like something's got to come from all of this. And, you know, you and Connor coming together and doing that and making a team. And I love the fact that your main calling and your main enthusiasm was to act. And it's something you knew you loved, you were passionate about, you're good at it, since you've gotten a lot of different opportunities to do that now. But you're like, because I was the same way. I'm like, my first gift would not be to be a cinematographer like him, nor to be a writer or to do like Miguel is here helping DP and run the show here. His job, or Yelly who edits, and all the people that work on this show. But I wanted to know what all they did. You have an understanding of what they do. But that understanding came from to help them do better at what they do.
Yeah.
You know, I need to have somewhat of an understanding so that I can say, okay, how do I help you accomplish whatever you're trying to do, and be an added value instead of being a weight
Yeah.
of like, oh, this is all I do. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's that concept of trying to fully understand something to then help it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like good posture. Like, you know, people will talk about you have good or bad posture. I love the posture you had during that whole process of like, I'm here to help somebody else. I'm doing this not only because I want to do it, it's a passion, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure this goes towards something that's going to be like bigger than me. You know, it's not just a film about me. It's got my sister in it. I want to share my sister's story. I want to honor this person and that. Oh, you know, we're right in the middle of COVID. Let's like take a step of faith and do it anyway. You know, and have this go towards a charity. I think that was like such a good example of like the posture needed in our industry. You know, on production, it's not just me, the DP, or it's not just me, the actress or the writer, or the cinematographer, the producer. You know, like there's a whole team in that, and it goes so much further when that posture is like, hey, I mean, the best thing you said was, I was willing to take any information from everybody on how to do this. You know, that's tough because not everybody wants to do that.
Yep.
Everyone, you know, they'll have their lane and they're like, I got a little piece of nugget, that's mine.
Yeah.
I don't want to learn anything else.
Yeah.
I know it. I know enough. And then they're just stuck in that spot, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great example of like why you have been promoted in such a fun way. It's because your posture, your heart was right in that, you know, it's so right in that beginning of your journey, you know? And I can see that even in watching some of your stuff now and like what you're getting to be a part of, and some of the stuff that you're being a talent in, and even on your TikTok, we were talking about this earlier, how I just love her stuff, where she's still doing it. She's still doing the posture of I'm giving it away. Yeah. You know, and I think every time you're willing to tear the loaf and give a little bit more to somebody else, that's always comes back. Yep. It always comes back in tenfold, you know? And so I think you're just really good example of fruit of that. So
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. So, okay. So we did Positive, which is the name of the film. We can maybe overlay some of that and some of this we're talking about. But after that, now we're done with COVID. We've gone out to LA. You're auditioning for different, you know, gigs and all of that. Take us there. What started transpiring after that?
Okay. So after that, I signed with Pastor Bosby, and I love them. And that's been so wonderful. And I felt really empowered in like my acting and producing. And then Connor and I started our own company.
Yes.
Because we realized how much we loved working together. We spent like every day together for like a year, and it never felt like work. It was more like we're spending time together and it's just fun. And then we also just both enjoy the tenacity of the work. So it was just fun. So we started our company in September. And then since then, we've produced 2 more shorts, original shorts that I've written, and I directed one and then acted and directed in the other one, which that's tough.
Yeah. That's a big bite. It's the whole piece.
And we also made our first commercial. We have a commercial client that we've been working with, and I directed that commercial, which was really cool.
Yay.
And wrote it. So we're kind of transitioning into that space, which is allowing us to create our own projects as well, which is very exciting. And we did a small film festival in January that we benefited women filmmakers of New York. It's like a small charity that helps people in underprivileged areas in New York with making films. So we donated to them. And then in September, we're going to do another film festival for like local small indie projects. And I kind of want to do like a no film school idea. So it's all people who didn't go to film school who want to showcase their work. And we're going to just put on a networking event for them and showcase their stuff, do Q&As. And we're partnering with either Film Independent or Film Fatale. So we're talking to both. So
that's
going to do another one of those.
Come on.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about you and Connor. Let's talk about you and Connor. It's funny, when I met them, Cameron and I were like, okay, is this a thing? Is this business? What's happening here? And then we realized they're just great friends. Yeah. So, it's cool. They are great partners, counterparts to each other in a business working relationship. They do really great with each other. And, we've worked a lot together since them being here. We have a docuseries that we're in the works of right now and trying to get all the development part of that worked out. And it's just a really great working relationship, where I think people that are wanting to get in the industry, I say all the time, find somebody else that you can work with.
That's good.
Because it takes multiple people to do this.
Yes.
It's not a one-man band. I mean, it can be a one-man band, but it looks like a one-man band. So there's that. So find somebody that you can work in cohesive with, that like this is their lane. We talk about that a lot here. This is their lane. This is this person's lane. And then how do we pull everybody together and catch the same vision? I think you and Connor do that well. I think you both are can understand each other's vision. I say that about Kelly here a lot, and I say it about Hosanna a lot. It's easy for us all to work together because we can all start talking and we're all kind of seeing in the same kind of way, So it just makes sense and it works. What do you think about you and Connor's relationship in partnership, makes that work for y'all?
So Connor has so much experience on really big sets, and he has so many connections in that department. So it's like the whole area of film that I knew nothing about. So I'd say for the first probably 6 months we were working together, it was almost like a mentorship. Like I was learning so much from him. But also I was teaching him from like an acting / I feel like I have a very strong sense of organizing a project from like studying and from college. I really know how to execute something and create a deadline and a timeline, and it will get done. And it's like no matter what amount of work needs to go into that, we'll figure that out as we go. And I'm not afraid of the work. But I'm just so lucky to have someone like Connor because, as I was telling Hosanna in the lobby, I think I can be a little aggressive and
I like it, Abby.
And a little forthright. And on set, Connor is such a good mediator because he's so warm and he's so calm. And if sometimes in like the heat of the moment, if someone approaches me and if they have a question, I can be a little blunt. Let's go with blunt.
Let's go with the blunt.
Good word.
A little divisive. Connor will then pull them aside and be like, oh, it's just, she doesn't mean it. So that works great. And he's also he's such a cheerleader. He's so supportive of no matter what it is. And if he has criticism or thought, he is able to give it to me in a way that doesn't make me angry, which is shocking. So I'm not angry, but I'm actually open to his critiques in a way that we're collaborators. Like I'll send him versions of my scripts when they're in the very early stages because I want to hear what he's going to say because I trust that his thoughts and his views are so similar to mine that I know it's going to be helpful to me. Like there's no ego in it.
Right.
And like Connor would always say, like, and I don't even know this because I don't know a lot of screenwriters, but I'm not precious with my work. I'm willing to share it to people. If they want me to read their stuff, I will help them. Like I'm not in it for anything other than I'm just excited about it.
Yeah.
So that's really nice when we're on set and I'm directing and I have to because Connor's first ADing, usually it's like, oh, we have to cut this, and directors are like, there's pushback. For me, I'm like, okay, no, if you say that that's what we need to cut, we will cut it. It's gone. Like I'm not upset by it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think mainly our personalities balance really well, which is really nice. And creatively, we balance really well.
Yeah.
Because he's so business minded, but also so warm and connecting people. And I can get a little creatively chaotic, I would say. And he's very good at reining me in and getting logical about it, like with the pitch decks and creating timelines. And he's very good at taking my stuff and then making it tangible.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. Yeah. I think of, we had a coach one time tell us, like, why do you practice things you suck at? Why? Don't do that. Go get better at the thing you're already really good at.
Yep.
And in the production world, as you're sharing all that, I just hear like you have to surround yourself with the things you can't do that others do really, really well.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the balancing of the opposite of like, okay, I need that. Instead of me going out and there's time and place for learning and growing and stuff. But when I think you're at a level to where you're like, I really want to produce something at a high level or just with excellence, it's like, I can't do it all by myself. I just can't.
Yep.
Like when you said earlier, you're doing the writing, the directing, and the acting on. I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was tough. But you learned that it's like I need those people to be a part of it. I need help. And it's not a desperation posture.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to succeed, and you're going to succeed if I succeed because we're both going to succeed together in that. And I think that's like really cool to see that happening. Like that happens all the time here.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you're talented. Do that more.
Yeah. And I think like a sports team like you're talking about is easy to cross over into this industry where you're like, okay, if I'm going to build a basketball team, I'm going to need a forward, I'm going to need, 2 wings, I'm going to need a post. Like you start saying all the positions you need. And if one position isn't strong, there's a weak link there. So you're either going to have to, what we call in the industry, tent pole around that. So put a really, really good person around them to make up for the gap and the lack of.
Yeah.
Or you try to build like what we say around here, the Avengers of media, it's like you build this Avengers team of everybody that can just knock it out of the park in all aspects. And then that is so much easier said than done to find that many creatives and executives all working together, all bringing their A game, all at the height, to cohesively get together on projects and then foster that. But you'll see it especially in features and stuff like that in big production houses, you'll see where a team comes together and they just start pumping out a film after film after film. They get their core creatives together and then it just works. And I think in this industry, that's what you start with then you start with adding on, your counterpart to you. And then you say, okay, out of the two of us, now what do we need to add to that? And then how do we just keep growing this team? And it's the same what we've done here at the studio. One by one, we keep adding new pieces and new elements to make a team to go really like when that opportunity comes, when there's that script that comes across your desk or when that opportunity comes, they're like, hey, we need a production team to go and shoot this feature or this docuseries or this documentary or whatever. You're like, boom, I got the Avenger team, right? Like you're on the phone, you got everybody together, all cohesively, they all work together. It's just easy. You don't even think about it. You just know it's going to work, and that's kind of what we've done here. And that's what I encourage other people that are wanting to get in the industry. No, you can't be a one-man band. So you're going to have to open up the way you think to welcome in other people that can do different skills and talents that are necessary to produce at the short film level, at the feature film for sure level. I mean, features take a lot of people doing what they do really great to execute it. So, okay. Let's go off of your producing side a little bit. That's you and Connor and the producing side. Yeah. Let's go into acting land.
Okay.
So recently you have been like around the globe, acting actually. Take us down that journey. What all and where all have you been, and what have they been for, and what have you learned, and what would you do again, or what would you go like, yeah, no, or like I had no idea, that kind of thing. Tell us, walk us through some of your acting things.
I'll start in the fall of last year. I was in like an experimental live theater piece musical. It was also a murder mystery, and it was interactive. And I played a jazz singer and pianist, and it was set in the 1920s. So I talked in a transatlantic accent.
Oh, please, that got to come back. That has to come back.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really fun. And we ran for like 8 weeks. We ran for a while.
Wow.
And it was crazy because it was walkable from my apartment. Which
nice.
does not happen in LA. I could walk to my theater job. It was like I lived in New York. It was very
amazing.
Crazy. Yeah. But that was really interesting because the show was almost entirely improv, and I've never been trained in improv or anything. I did an improv show in Dallas in the spring of 2021, and that was really like my first experience with improv. But I think improv is really just, it's like everything we're doing already. You just get given scenarios, and you have to be unafraid of doing that. You just got to be blindly confident because people are they're very entertained by it. And then you just got to play off of the people too.
That's like my biggest dream, actually.
Improv.
Oh, now that we know this.
Totally see that. I mean, this is in a way a form of improv. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
You're just not wearing like a flapper dress, and you're not talking in an accent.
This is when they were like, here, you're going to have some lines. I'm like, I don't really want to say what you want me to say. Can I just say what I want to say? I just like to riff. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, no, you would love that.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then, gosh, this past like 6 months, I've done a lot of commercials, like a ton of commercials. And I've been flying out to Austin and to Dallas for commercials, which has been really fun.
Yeah.
And usually I'm only on set for like, a day or half a day, but it's so rewarding in so many ways because the sets are always huge. They're really nice. And like your part might even not have lines or whatever, but it's just cool to be part of it. And then the best part of it I love is like my family members will text me if they see my commercial.
Yeah.
It's like, or like take a little picture. That's really
cute.
sweet. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's been a fun way to like get in the industry and get connected over the past 6 months or so. And then I directed a self-written short, and that's proof of concept for a feature. And then I acted and directed in one that I wrote, which was kind of like testing the waters because I told Connor, like, I want to know what it's like to act and direct at the same time because I was intimidated on the first short or on the second one after Positive. And it was difficult. It really, it was challenging. I think it was the perfect short to start that on because it was like an experimental monologue. So we only had like 2 or 3 cuts in the whole thing and all the light cues happened like theater. Yeah. So that was most of our day was just getting technical stuff down. But the acting part of it was very intense because it was like based on a true story and it's a very chaotic piece. So I kind of did it in like 3 or 4 takes. So from an acting perspective, it was very involved, but I'm again really blessed because Connor will direct when I'm not directing, and it's basically the same voice because I totally trust what he's gonna say. Yeah. So it was really like I acted and co-directed, but still, it was a good experience.
That's cool.
Good experience. Yeah. I do think in future, there could be a project I act and direct on, but if I'm really passionate about being in something, I will hire a director. Or if I'm really passionate about the whole project, I will get an actor who I think works for the part. Yeah. So that was a learning experience.
I can imagine. I know when we first met, I thought this was really fascinating. When we first met, you had long hair.
Yeah.
And you were auditioning a lot.
Yeah.
And then you had recommendation or wild hair, which one I'm not sure. And you went and chopped.
I just woke up and I just did it on a whim and I donated all of it in November.
Yes. Wow.
And it like changed the game for my commercial acting career.
Yes.
Changed.
Really?
Like 3 national commercials in like 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot for anybody.
Yeah.
And before she was having all these auditions with her long hair. And then she wakes up one morning and was like, it's gone. It's a goner. It's a goner. Goes and gets her hair cut. And is like, which, by the way, if you're not in acting world and you don't know this, that means she has to go get all new headshots.
Yeah.
All new everything done again because she looks different now.
Yeah.
So she was like, Maybe.
I like panic emailed all my agents, like CC
You
them.
look different.
It's like, no, literally, I'm on the way to the haircut place, and I was like, is it okay if I chop off my hair? And they're like, well, like, are you getting new headshots? And I was like, yes.
Sure.
Of course. And then I called this woman who's like the headshot photographer I would want to work with in LA, but you need like 6 months of advance, always. And I call her as I'm in the haircut place, and she's like, I have a cancellation for tomorrow. Is that too soon? And I was like, no, I'll take it.
It just came off. Let's do it.
Perfect.
It's like all the stars aligned, and then it's almost like just let it go, like
Literally,
let it
and
go.
like a month later, I booked a commercial off of one of those headshots.
Yes.
And almost every commercial audition I've had since then, which there have been many, thankful for that, but they're from the same headshot. It's like the same 2 headshots. I'm like, what?
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
So what you think
See,
might
I
work.
love this part of like production because it's just, it opens up the door and reveals to everyone else who's not in production how creative it actually is. As simple as like, I cut my hair. Wow, that's a whole different look now, which is a whole nother take on who you are as a personality or who you're fitting in as a role. I mean, we talked about that on an episode earlier where they were saying, man, this is a really talented person, but it doesn't fit that role.
Yeah.
Let's put him over there. Oh, perfect fit. So it's the same thing, something as like, man, really talented, but, doesn't really fit the role because you have long hair.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you cut their hair. Like, perfect. Fits you in right here. It's just crazy how there's so many levels to like what we do in production that varies not just on the technical side of things, but as something as simple, but not so simple as just cutting your hair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just always will blow my mind how much detail goes into what we do.
And just the simplicity of just saying like, you can't get your feelings hurt if you don't get a gig because it's what you made your hair like like it wasn't really that you weren't great. I have another friend that lives out in LA and he acts a lot, and he's like, Amber, I think I've done 100 auditions in a month. And I was like, oh my, like, did you move from the camera? Like how do you, and again, his look is the stereotypical, white surfer looking guy. And they're like, we're just not hiring that look right now. And that you also have to take that into consideration. Certain looks are hot in seasons, and so they're just looking for a certain look, and then there's looks that aren't, but it'll come back around. You know what I mean? Like that comes in waves. And so it's like the world may not say you should cut your hair, but who's hiring may say cut your hair. There's those type of things too. So being willing to, I mean, I know no one recommended it to you. You just woke up and did that. But I mean, for those that are out there trying to make a way in the industry, sometimes some major changes in your appearance or your style could land you completely different roles. There was another actress that we had on earlier, a beautiful young lady, and she's like, I want to get grittier roles, but she looks like she's all put together, So she's like, I don't get those roles because the way I look put together, but she really wants to play one of those. I'm like, yeah, you're going to have to buzz cut. Like, I don't know what you're going to do. Like, you're going to have to change.
Right there.
Right? You're going to have to change some things to try to get some of the different grittier roles if that's the direction you want to move in. Or do you make a lane for yourself and say, hey, I'm the girl for this type look or this type way, There's just so many things that go into getting hired as talent, as a producer and all of that. You have a certain idea in your head and you're trying to find that in a person, and they may have the look, but then they speak and then their voice doesn't match, or, their dialect's not right, or the grit's not there, but the look is, or the look's not there, but they sound the part and can portray it, but they just doesn't fit the character that was written. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, it's a lot more difficult than I think the average person fully understands. It's like, just if you got the audition, just get the audition, when there's just a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. I'd love to hear your take on that. Being in that world of, how do you balance do I try and like mold to what I feel like I want to get, or do I stay true to who I am and just say, I'm going to be patient, and kind of wait for maybe what I'm hoping for, or I'll take some of the stuff I'm getting right now. Like, how do you balance that, expectations to what you want or expectations of what others want in that field of like acting?
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty ardent about the things I will and will not do. And those are absolutely unwavering for me.
Yeah.
And I make that explicitly clear with like anyone I work with. Like from the day one, I would never do nudity if it's nudity for the sake of nudity. It has to be story driven or plot driven. And if like, there can be tons of caveats to that. Like if they won't send me the script because I'm like, okay, great, I'm not auditioning. Like, cause until I know and I feel like that's justified to me, I will never take that audition.
Yep.
And that's the same with like intimacy too. Like, is there an intimacy coordinator? Oh, we can't. I'm like, okay, if there's not budget for that, you don't respect me. So I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be part of a project that I don't feel safe in.
Yeah.
So lots of things like that. Same with like ethnically ambiguous characters. I'm like, I'm white. I'm not auditioning for someone's experience and taking that role from them. So that's again, like, that's a clear cut no.
Yeah.
Even if the director loves me and they think I look a certain way, I'm like, that's great, but that's not my experience. So I'm not going to speak from that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things. And like I was telling you, I really am passionate about indie film, and that's kind of the majority of what I want to do. So I will always prioritize that over other things because that's like where I think my voice is in this industry. So I don't have a problem, I guess, pigeonholing myself in a way because I know that that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take because obviously like cutting my hair, it did take away a lot of certain auditions I was getting because like some could say like, oh, you're not really leading woman because leading woman always has like long hair or she looks younger or she's like, I'm not going to be the hot leading woman. I'm more like the quirky friend or like the girl in a period piece. Like it puts you in a different category. And as much as we don't want to acknowledge like, oh, the way you look, well, it's about other things. I'm like, yes, it is about other things, but also think about the logistics of how this is happening.
Yeah.
I'm on Actors Access. My agent pitches me to a casting director. The first thing they see is my headshot.
Yep.
Great. They look at my headshot and they see me with my little high neck turtleneck, like with the short, tight little hair. Like they're like, okay, great. So she's quirky girl next door, or she's Keira Knightley from Pride and Prejudice, and there's no in between. I'm like, great. So, but versus the headshots I had before, my hair was long, it was straight. I had like a low cut red shirt. It's a totally different character.
Yeah.
Which obviously they can change the way you look, but it's so easy to just judge someone by the way they look because that's the first thing they're looking at.
Yeah.
Because if they looked at me and they look at my resume and they're like, oh, well, she's played like the hot girl. And like, these are, okay, so like maybe her character type changes. But if they see character roles that support the way I look, which is the thing I'm hoping for because it represents who I really am, then I'm okay with being put there because also that's who I am.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of auditions for like nerdy girl or like scientist. I'm like, great. Because if you look at me, you might not think that, but the essence of me is that. So I want to be portrayed as my essence. And I think that's what takes a lot of finagling when you're first in the industry. Because it's like, I want to look the way that people will cast me. I'm like, great. But then they're going to call you in, like you're saying, and they'll be like, oh, well, that's not really her vibe. That's not actually what she is.
That's right.
So if the way you look is not congruent with who you actually are or your essence, I think that's where there are these discrepancies that become frustrating in the industry. But it's hard to find like, how am I supposed to look? Like,
And I
hard.
think even if you look at some of the bigger actors that have tried to cross over into roles,
Doesn't work.
yeah,
It's tough.
it's like Kevin Hart's just got to be funny, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just funny. Like if he tries to play like the bad guy without funny in it, you're kind of like, you really weren't that bad.
Or
You know what I mean? Like that really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson playing a super serious role. I mean, I love it. He's done it a couple of times and done good, but it's like, man, it's not what I see. I see wow.
It's
and
not the
That's
magic.
not wow.
Yes.
You
The
know?
magic isn't there as much. Can they do it? Yes. And some actors can cross over into a lot of different lanes, right? But the majority play a certain where the magic's at, you know, in their what they bring to the screen, you know. And so I think you're smart by saying knowing your essence, knowing what you are, knowing what your magic is, and then just really refining your magic instead of trying to like morph into all these things. Not that you can't do it and refine a skill. I mean, look, the best are doing that at times. But I mean, we're all just sitting here saying too, you know that that's not where their magic sits.
Yeah.
You
And that's
know.
exactly what you were saying about like, you're a producer and you're really talented at connecting people. Like you're not a DP. And that's what Hosanna is very good at. So if you're going to try to learn that, it's not preternaturally coming to you. So why do we try to make ourselves something we're not just to appeal to the masses?
Yeah.
When you can get better at something you're already good at and passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could talk all day on all of these topics.
Yes.
You
true.
know, we love you here, Abby, and we've enjoyed getting to watch you journey this career. that you're having, from your first short to national commercials to starting your own company to producing now and many other commercials and films and all of that. It's been inspiring. I hope that it inspired you today that take a leap, find your essence, find who you are. If you're an actor or actress, refine what that is. Take away from Abby's journey and inspiration in this industry and take a nugget of that and try to apply that somehow to your journey, Hosanna, thanks. It's always fun sitting with you on set. Well, on and off set around here.
On and off set. I mean, somebody's got to bring some wild color shoes to match your pink ones.
That's right. Always trying
I'll
to
be that weird one. It's okay.
Trying to. We've got you really muted right now for the podcast.
Dude, it's so weird. I'm like
we gotta
all
get you
black. I can't do it all the time. Production.
Yeah. All your vibrantness that you bring and energy you bring around here is always fun. But we've got to wrap up. So thanks for flying in to visit with us and sit with us. We're super stoked that you came. We can't wait to have Connor on as well and hear his side of the story for everything.
We need a tag team of both on that.
That's right. If people wanted to follow you and follow your journey and everything, where do they go?
Yeah, so our Instagram is A2C _entertainment, and our website is A2Centertainment.com, and it's the number 2, not TO.
Yeah.
Cool.
And any social medias you have for Abby?
Yeah, I'm Abby K. Tozer, Tozer, and that's my Instagram and my TikTok.
And we'll put that. We'll also notate all of that in the descriptions and everything too. So go check her out. Go follow them. Big things are coming. Exciting things are happening in A2C Entertainment. So until then, Hosanna, it's been fun.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for being here to both of you.
Thank you.
And until we see you on Set Life.